All right, guys. Hey, this is Rick. We're coming live. Got a few things we need to discuss tonight. I think it's going to be the most pertinent things that everybody needs to hear. Number one, we'll be discussing the recent Stephen Palazzo rebuttals to the allegations that I had against him and the soldiers of the Mississippi National Guard. Then we're going to go into what we feel like's the biggest question that everybody has for me. And then we'll go into some specific issues. Number one, the recent Palazzo rebuttals. I have to give Super Talk Mississippi a little credit. Yesterday, the JT Show gave me a very fair interview. It was something that I wasn't necessarily expecting, but they gave me a good interview. WMXI 98.1, we're trying to make contact with them right now to discuss possibly me being able to come on air and address the statements that Congressman Palazzo made, and also what the host of the show said. We don't know if we're going to get that yet, but hopefully we will. So what Congressman Palazzo has been saying about my rebuttal is, number one, he was excused from drill and was able to meet his drill requirements at either Camp Shelby or in Jackson, Mississippi. Let's say this. All military guys, you're going to understand this. Before you're able to go do anything outside of your unit, you have to get approval through your enlisted chain of command. So Congressman Palazzo, what he said is a sergeant. Me being in the military, I know this. Me knowing other military guys, you should know this, that if you do anything, it has to go through your senior enlisted chain of command. Well, he did not do that. And the one thing I want to note is when he finally had a camera put in his face, WDAM interviewed him at the USM homecoming game, he said he did not know Staff Sergeant Wade. There's a problem with that. And military guys, if you're listening, men and women, hold on just a second and make sure. All right. If you're listening, understand this. There's no way possible that in 2 years you do not know your platoon sergeant. It's just not possible. And he admittedly said he did not know Staff Sergeant Wade. So now the press release that Palazzo's campaign came out with said Congressman Palazzo completed the majority of his drills in either Camp Shelby or Jackson, Mississippi. The problem for military guys that you're going to see is that was not your unit of assignment. Now, split drills, they are allowed in the Mississippi National Guard, and it's totally understandable. For 24 straight months, never been done before. Ask any Mississippi National Guardsman. They know one soldier that's done split drills for 24 straight months. It's not happened. So it goes to Congressman Palazzo's statement where he said, I did the majority of my drills in either Jackson or Shelby. I can understand Shelby maybe a little bit, but how is Jackson, Mississippi more convenient than Poplarville? Ask that question, guys. How is it more convenient than Poplarville? That was his unit of assignment. Then we go back to the chain of command. He never contacted his chain of command. Now, he said on WMXI, I contacted the commander. The commander gave me permission. Well, in military tradition, history, everything, if that does happen, and it's only under weird circumstances that you can contact your commanding officer and have something like that forgiven, when it does happen in that manner, then it still goes back to your senior enlisted so they know. And that did not happen. So we're talking to WMXI, wanting the opportunity to address these rebuttals that Congressman Palazzo gave. And we may or not get it. It doesn't matter. We have a lot of people, to include Congressman Palazzo, said this is a desperate attempt by a third-party candidate. That's a good rebuttal. I'll give him that. But the bottom line, what he doesn't understand, excuse my French, guys, but this election be damned. I don't care about this election. If we are able to win, then that's great. But if this investigation that's been launched by the state House of Representatives already, the Mississippi National Guard, the Inspector General, and also federal authorities. If these investigations go past November 8th, I am 100% prepared to stay right there with the men that come forward because they deserve that. And I'll be right there with them every step of the way, being a voice, trying to do everything I can do to make sure that what is right takes place and that the truth comes out, because it's never too late for the truth. So moving on, and guys, I got a little list here, and it's just some things that's come up to myself, my campaign team, some questions that people have had, and I really want to take the opportunity to address these. Number one, we've been notified by several people that there's been recent polls conducted where they've been called, and my name was specifically brought up in the poll. And it goes like this: do you plan on voting in the Mississippi CD4 race coming up November 8th? Well, when they say yes, it's followed up by this question: do you plan on voting for Congressman Stephen Palazzo? Excuse me. When they say no, it's followed up with this question: do you plan on voting for Ric McCluskey? And if the person being called replies with yes, it's then followed up with, well, do you know the Libertarian Party's stance on abortion? Pay very close attention to the questioning in this poll. Polls are not just used to gauge what people are feeling going toward Election Day. It can also sway your feeling. So when they say, do you plan on voting for Ric McCluskey, which, by the way, I know Congressman Palazzo was behind that poll, and I'm flattered that he actually brought my name up specifically. I really am. But the next question is used to gear people toward a certain response. And I can say the Libertarian Party, they have no official party platform stance that says that they're pro-choice. They leave it up to the individual member of the party to make that decision. So each one of you that's been following me since I announced my candidacy, you know good and well that I've said from day one, I'm pro-life. I will legislate from a pro-life position in Washington, D.C. So the question I have for the polling company that's doing this, Congressman Palazzo, is what has the Republican Party done from the pro-life position? Let's explore that real quick. 3 different times in the last decade, Congressman Ron Paul has presented sanctity of life legislation. Those 3 different times, Republicans held the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the presidency. Do you know how many times that bill was heard and passed? Not once. Not once. We still do not have a sanctity of life bill. So I have a hard time understanding how we can say that Republicans are so pro-life, because they're not. Republican appointed Supreme Court justices have held the majority of the court for at least 30 years. Ask yourselves this: has Roe v. Wade been overturned? It hasn't. Also, in the last omnibus spending bill, Congressman Palazzo voted to fund Planned Parenthood. Now look, if you're listening to this right now, you may not agree with the abortion side of things like I do. You may be pro-choice, but also libertarian leaning. From the abortion side, I don't agree with it from there. I'm pro-life, bottom line. But if you are pro-choice but libertarian leaning, ask yourselves this: are you okay with taxpayers' money funding such an entity? And I can answer this for myself and how I will vote if I am fortunate enough and honored and blessed to go to Washington, D.C. I will not give taxpayers' money to an entity such as Planned Parenthood. Bottom line, take that to the bank. I already know how Congressman Palazzo and the establishment's trying to paint me. And they're trying to paint me with a broad brush and trying to associate me with an erroneous interpretation of what the Libertarian Party's position on abortion is, and he can do that all he'd like. But the bottom line is you cannot find one statement, not just from this campaign, not from my previous involvement in political campaigns or whatever, any interview I've ever done. I used to host a radio show. Try to find anything on that. Anywhere in my adult life where I've been pro-choice, I welcome that. Try, because it's not going to happen. I've been pro-life as long as I can remember before, even when I first became aware of what it meant. I've been pro-life. And the reason for that is if I cannot protect the most basic freedom and liberty, which is life, then I can't protect any freedom and liberty. And I believe that the founders put it in that order: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So life is paramount to everything. I will be the strongest proponent you have in Washington, D.C. when it comes to protecting the sanctity of life. And for those who are not on the side of that, to include Republicans who want to fund Planned Parenthood, I'm going to call you out. And I don't care what it means to me politically, professionally, personally. As you can see in the last 7 days, I will sacrifice all of that to do what's right. And I will never once vote on any omnibus spending bill that funds an entity such as Planned Parenthood. You have my promise on that. I don't understand how any conservative, any limited government advocate could say they voted for an incumbent, a candidate that is in favor of giving such an entity taxpayers' money. I can't understand it. So if my supporters out there, I've heard that some of you are getting hammered on the fact it's Ric pro-life, pro-choice. You can say unequivocally, undeniably, that Ric is pro-life, and he has been. And anybody that says otherwise, I challenge them to confront me. And I know Congressman Palazzo has said otherwise, and I've challenged him to confront me for months now, and it hasn't happened. Instead, he likes to speak through controlled mediums and his campaign manager, where with me, I speak for myself. So anybody that has a problem with that, please contact me. Let me know. I'll give you all the ammo you need to defend not just me, but this campaign on the fact that I am pro-life undeniably and will fight for it every ounce of my being. So I want to kind of put that to rest. That's been a big issue. It's been coming up on my page, and other people personally has been hearing it. So if you have an issue, just please contact me. So moving on. This is the one thing that I did an interview with Super Talk Radio yesterday. And once again, I give JT credit on this. He gave me a fair interview. I was impressed, somewhat flabbergasted on it. I want to bring this up. Congressman Palazzo talks about being a strong conservative, even though we know that Club for Growth gives him a subpar rating, that the American Conservative Union gives him a subpar rating on his Liberty Report. So I want to explore just for a second, and forgive me because I'm going to read a lot of this verbatim. I want to explore, sorry about that, guys, and my hand's in the way, the omnibus spending bill that Congressman Palazzo supported, and not just supported this specific legislation. He supported Speaker Ryan being nominated as being elected as Speaker of the House, in which I have taken a pledge not to do. I will support a limited government Speaker of the House, and I've urged Congressman Palazzo to take that same pledge, yet he has not. So let's look at this omnibus spending bill real quick, guys. And we've already talked about the Planned Parenthood funding that occurred during the spending bill. So we're going to kind of go line by line for a second, and I'm going to give just a brief synopsis, and then I'll get to the details of the spending bill that Congressman Palazzo supported, and supported the man that brought it into fruition and presented it to the House of Representatives. So in Speaker Ryan's spending bill that Congressman Palazzo once again supported, it fully funds the DACA, the Dreamers Act. It fully funds sanctuary cities. It fully funds all refugee programs. It funds all Mideast immigration programs that have been exploited by terrorists in recent years. It funds illegal alien resettlement. It funds the release of criminal aliens. It quadruples the H-2B foreign worker visas, and it funds tax credits for illegal aliens, locks in huge spending increases. So, forgive me once again, I like to do a lot of this off the cuff, but I'm going to just give you a brief explanation of some of these things that Congressman Palazzo not only approved the man that presented this, which was Speaker Ryan, but also voted for this legislation. So, Omnibus spending bill fully funds the DACA. Once again, forgive me, but I'm going to read this. Through much of the public attention has surrounded the President's 2014 executive amnesty, the President's 2012 amnesty quietly continues to churn out work permits and federal benefits for hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens. Paul Ryan's bill funds entirely the 2012 executive amnesty for dreamers or illegal immigrants who came into the country. Specifically, Division F of Ryan's omnibus bill contains no language that would prohibit the use of funds to continue the president's unconstitutional program. Obama's executive action, known as Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, has granted around 700,000 illegal aliens with work permits as well as the ability to receive tax credits. In 2013, Paul Ryan said that it is his job as a U.S. lawmaker to put himself in the shoes of the dreamer who is waiting and works to find legislative solutions to his or her problems. Once again, I do not advocate taxpayers' money going to such a program, yet Congressman Palazzo did. Moving on. The bill that Congressman Palazzo approved funded sanctuary cities. 5 months ago, 32-year-old Katie Steinle was bleeding to death in her father's arm. She was just gunned down in broad daylight by a 5-time deported criminal alien whose presence in this country was the direct result of San Francisco's refusal to comply with the U.S. immigration law. Yet the bill that Congressman Palazzo voted for rewarded this type of lawlessness with sanctuary cities with federal grants, with taxpayers' money. Division B, Title II of Ryan's omnibus funds various grant programs for the Department of Justice. That would be pages 167, 168, and 169, and contains no language that would restrict the provision of such grants to sanctuary jurisdictions. In a congressional hearing, Ms. Steinle's father demanded congressional action and recalled his daughter dying in his words, saying, "Help me, Dad." Now, I typically do not get in the weeds of such an emotionally charged debate. But when Congressman Palazzo claims to be such a small government and principled individual, yet gives taxpayers money to such a program, then I will discuss that. And I'm going to discuss it with you, the voter. I urge Congressman Palazzo to discuss it with me, but he won't do that. Moving on. His omnibus fund gives taxpayers money to all refugee programs. Despite broad support amongst Republican lawmakers for a proposal introduced by Brian Bateman to halt all refugee settlement, Ryan's appropriations bill that Congressman Palazzo voted for will fund President Obama's refugee resettlement operation and will allow for the admission of tens of thousands of refugees with access to federal benefits. Division H, Title II of Ryan's bill contains appropriations for the Department of Health and Human Services and contains no language that would restrict this program, nor are there any restrictions of the program of Division K of Ryan's bill, which provides funding for the Department of State, which oversees refugee admissions. Ryan is not one of the 84 co-sponsors of Bateman's bill to halt the refugee operation. Once again, this is a program and a speaker that Congressman Palazzo supported. Moving on. Ryan's omnibus bill funded all the Mideast immigration programs that have been exploited by terrorists in recent years. Although multiple immigrant and visa programs in recent years have been exploited by terrorists, such as the F1 student visa, the K1 fiancé visa, and our green card and refugee programs. Ryan's proposal does not limit admissions from jihadist-prone regions. And as Senators Shelby and Sessions of Alabama noted in a joint statement, the omnibus would not put the U.S. Would put the U.S. on a path to approve admission for hundreds of thousands of migrants from a broad region of countries with jihadist movements over the next 12 months. Once again, this is what Congressman Palazzo voted for. The omnibus bill funded illegal alien resettlement. On page 917 of Ryan's omnibus, a section titled Refugee and Entrant Assistance funds the president's resettlement of illegal immigrants and border crossers. Once again, taxpayers' money being used to do so. It doesn't matter what side of the immigration spectrum you are on, what side of the immigration debate you're on. The fact that Congressman Palazzo is using taxpayers' money to do this flies in the face of anything resembling fiscal conservatism. So, bullet point number 6 funds the release of criminal aliens. Senior legislative aides tell Breitbart News that Ryan's bill does not do anything to change the enforcement priorities that Jed Johnson established a little over a year ago that would shield entire categories of criminal aliens from immigration law. Nor does it include language recommended by Jeff Sessions and Shelby to deny the expenditures of funds to issue visas to countries that refuse to repatriate criminal aliens. Once again, Congressman Palazzo funded this program. Bullet point 7. In Ryan's omnibus bill, it does move to an immigration compromise with President Obama, tucked 700 pages into the spending bill, which language would resuscitate and expand controversial provision of the Schumer-Rubio Gang of Eight plan to increase H-2B visa programs. The provision would quadruple the number of H-2B visas for unskilled guest workers, for a total of more than 250,000, a 250,000, writes immigration attorney Ian Smith. The Americans who fill these jobs are typically society's most vulnerable, including single women, the disabled, the elderly, minorities, teenagers, students, and first-generation immigrants. A recent BuzzFeed expose revealed how these programs allow businesses to discriminate against American workers and deliberately deny jobs to American workers so they can hire foreign workers on H-2 visas instead. As one GOP aide to Breitbart News said, this provision is a knife in the heart of the working class, specifically African Americans. Moving on, guys, we're almost done with this, but I want to make sure that we note every one of these things to say that Congressman Palazzo is not the limited government hero that he says he is. Number 8, the omnibus bill funded tax credits for illegal aliens. Ryan's bill preserves the expansion of the president's expiring child tax credits without any accompanying language to prevent illegal aliens from receiving the same credits. While Senator Sessions attempted to include language in the bill that would prevent illegal immigrants from receiving tax credits, his recommendations were rejected. Number 9, omnibus bill locks in huge spending increases. The bill funds the Obama-Boehner budget deal, which eliminated spending caps and will increase both defense and non-defense spending next year by around $25 billion each. Ladies and gentlemen, that's, in a nutshell, the omnibus spending bill by Speaker Ryan, who Congressman Palazzo elected to be Speaker of the House. But not only that, he voted for this bill. Yet he wants to tell us that he is a conservative small government principle champion. Anybody that takes the time to read this, they understand that is a lie and to the utmost. Now, I don't want to come off as bashing Congressman Palazzo, as many have accused me of. I'm saying that I will not, in one instance, give taxpayers money to the programs I just mentioned. That's limited government. That's what I'm advocating. I am the only candidate in this race that believes in small government, limited government principles. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, the 10th Amendment. I am the only one in this race that advocates that. Congressman Palazzo needs to be called out on these issues, the fact that he's funded Planned Parenthood, that flies in the face of Mississippi principles, but also the programs that I just mentioned that he voted to fund with your money. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a lie, and it flies in the face of what we believe in the state of Mississippi, specifically the 4th Congressional District, but even larger than that, it flies in the face of small government principles. And I cannot believe that Congressman Palazzo has gotten away with this for so long. You have my word that every one of the things that I just read off, to include the funding of Planned Parenthood, I will be wholeheartedly, adamantly against. These things do not fall within the realm of Article 1, Section 8 or the 10th Amendment of the Constitution. If the states want to do this, I may disagree or agree with it, but at least you, the people of each respected state, can hold your state legislators accountable for it. The things that I just read off that Congressman Palazzo voted for are not the powers of the federal government, bottom line. So I can see right now my phone battery's going dead, so I just wanted to address all these things. Guys, we're coming in on the home stretch right here. We're getting some very, very, very positive feedback. We were just out at Camp Shelby today talking to supporters that had asked me to come out there, and the people of the 4th Congressional District have the opportunity to make history. They can send someone that's not bridled by the two-party system. They can send someone up there who evidently is not afraid to call out the corruption. And I understand that that's now my persona and what I have to live up to. And even before that, it was something that I was very concerned with, and that's what I wanted to do. But now the fact that I've called Congressman Palazzo out on his National Guard service, which if anybody's got any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll give you a line-by-line description and explanation of how he failed to live up to his contract. But to the people that have supported me, we appreciate it. We love you guys, and we hear you screaming help, and I am trying to help. The campaign is trying to help, and you guys are helping us. Trust me. So come Tuesday, I'm sure you'll hear from me maybe at least one more time before Tuesday. Pray for us. Get everybody to show up to the polls. Share this live feed to everyone, because there's been a lot of people out there trying to misinterpret what my beliefs and principles are, and trying to paint my opponent in a light that he is not. So I wanted to say, first and foremost, thank you guys. We need you guys to share this, social media, like, comment, whatever you can do. And we'll be seeing you soon. Come Tuesday, we'll know more about where we stand. And hey, tell all your friends and family, let's go make history. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll be seeing you soon.